Hello everyone. Welcome to Everyday Prelims series of Shantha Lakshmi IAS Academy. So today in this video, let us discuss the topics of 23rd of September 2025. First, we are going to discuss about the Clean Plant Program. And second, about the Center for Marine Living Resource and Ecology. And third, about the CPCB, that is the Central Pollution Control Board report on the polluted river sites, and fourth about the bonnet macaque, and finally Tunisia African country mapping. So coming to our first topic, that is the Clean Plant Program. So this program was proposed by the Union Ministry of Agriculture and the Farmers Welfare, and this was approved by the Union Cabinet in the month of August 2025. So this program was intended to ensure that the farmers will get the healthy and the pure seeds so that they can give the output very nutritiously. See, nowadays the farmers are facing the issue of getting the fake seeds and the low nutritious content seeds. And the seeds are also getting the pathogens. So if the farmers sow their seeds which is not viable, and at the starting stage only the seed itself has the pathogens, that is the disease content seed. If the farmer sow that seed, what is the output will be also the low nutritious content, and also the pathogen will attract very soon, so that the plant will not grow and the farmers will be at loss. So in order to overcome that issue, the Union Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare has come up with this program, Clean Plant Program. Clean plant, that is means disease resistant and the pathogen free seedlings or the pathogen free plant. So it is the initiative of Ministry of Agriculture and the Farmers Welfare, and that too in collaboration with the Asian Development Bank. Asian Development Bank is also supporting this scheme by providing a loan of up to $98 million. And what is the aim of this Clean Plant Program? As I already said, it will ensure the healthy, disease-free planting material of key fruit crops. So through this Clean Plant Program, the government is aiming to give healthy and disease-free planting material, that is whether the seeds or the seedlings or the plant material, to the farmers. So that's how they can improve the quality of the produce, and the farmers will also be get benefited without going for any pesticides. And who is implementing this program? That is the National Horticulture Board in association with the ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. So see how many institutes are involved in this program. One is the Ministry of the Agriculture and the Farmers Welfare. The other is the international organization, that is the Asian Development Bank, in giving the financial support, and also two other, that is the National Horticulture Board and in association with this ICAR. Financial outlay, that is the Government of India is setting up of 1765.67 Indian crore rupees for this Clean Plant Program. So let's say what will include in this Clean Plant Program. So under this Clean Plant Program, the government will establish the 9 Clean Plant Centers. There are 3 in the Maharashtra. That for grapes, for giving the clean seeds of this pure and the clean and the disease-free seeds of the grapes in the Pune, and 1 for oranges in the Nagpur, and for pomegranates in the Solapur, 3 in the Maharashtra. Now they confirm that 3 clean plant centers will be coming up in Maharashtra for these grapes, oranges and the pomegranates. Along with the clean plant centers, they will also develop the modern nurseries. So these modern nurseries will give 8 crore disease-free seedlings to farmers. Disease-free. So that is this clean plant material. We also have the international collaboration. We also seek the international collaboration from foreign nations like the Israel and the Netherlands, which have already experimented with this clean plant program, and now they are ready to help us in ensuring how this program can be benefited. And we also have this national level laboratory in the Pune, Maharashtra, for doing the research and getting at the clean seeds. See how this process will looks like. So the process of the production of the clean planting material. First, they will acquire the plant material from the domestic or any international sources. The plant material can be seed or the plant. Okay. So from that, they will check for the pathogens. They take one seed and they will check for the pathogens if there are any pathogens present on the in that seed. If positive, if pathogen is present, the seed will be sent to the virus elimination. The pathogen will be eliminated. And how the pathogen will be eliminated? By using the various therapies like the tissue culture, heart, or the cryotherapy, and also propagation of the plants. So this is the one method. And if the seed is tested negative for the pathogen, then they will again proceed for the retesting. First, they confirm there is no pathogen. Again, they will confirm by going for the retest. And also, they will confirm the retest to confirm the absence of the pathogen. They will retest again to confirm the absence. There is no pathogen left there. And after getting confirmation that yes, this seed does not have any pathogen, then they will go for the production and the maintenance of the disease-free mother plants in the clean plant center. In the 9 clean plant centers, they will go for establishing this production and maintenance of this disease-free mother plants. And after establishing those plants, they will go for the distribution of this planting material to the nurseries, accredited nurseries. And that nurseries will give the 8 crore seedlings to the farmers. And after that, from that nurseries, the seedlings or the planting material will go to the farmers. And this process is whole being implemented by the National Horticulture Board along with the assistant from the ICAR. So what is the role of this ICAR here? So this ICAR will only test this whether the pathogen is there or not. So, and this National Horticulture Board also will look into all these aspects: production, distribution to the nurseries, and the distribution to the farmers. So this is the process of the clean planting material. So that's how we will produce the clean planting material. Now, what are the benefits of this clean plant program? See, for the farmers, it will provide access to the virus-free, high-quality planting material. Yes, for the farmers, they will get the virus-free, high-quality planting material so that in the growth stage of their plants, the plants will not be attacked by any pest and the farmers will get benefited, and they will also give the high-quality nutritious fruits. And for the nurseries, the certification process and the infrastructure support. And for the consumers benefit through the superior and the healthy products. And this will also be used for the exports also, which will position India as a global exporter in giving the high quality nutritious food to the world. So this is about the Clean Plant Program, which is the initiative of the Ministry of Agriculture and the Farmers' Welfare. Now moving to our second topic, that is the Center for Marine Living Resources and the Ecology. So why we are discussing right now means, see, in the month of May, at Kerala coast, this Liberian ship, one Liberia-based ship named MSC Elsa 3. This was sank off the Kerala coast, and this ship contained many materials or the chemicals, and the ship was sank in the Kerala coast. The whole water is filled with the materials. And regarding that, one institution of this Ministry of Earth Sciences, that is the Center for Marine Living Resources and the Ecology, done investigation in how these Liberia-based materials which were sank in the ocean at the coast, at the Kerala coast, how those materials influence the ecology over there. So they done the investigation and they said that yes, the materials of this MSC ELSA 3 ship, or the not even the materials, or the ship itself has the materials, right? So many chemical compounds, harmful compounds. They said that yes, because of the sinking of this MSC Elsa 3 at the Kerala coast, it caused a huge ecological disruption. So now let's see about this institute. What is this CMLRE? So this institute, the Center for Marine Living Resource and Ecology, is a research institute based in Kochi, Kerala, which is under the Ministry of the Earth Sciences. And this was established during the 11th five-year plan, that is in 1998. And what is the aim of this research center? That is to study the marine living resources. And it also manages the fishery oceanographic research vessel of the Sagar Sampada also. So through this vessel only, it conducted the investigations and it told that yes, the sinking of this MSC Elsa 3 caused a huge ecological disaster in the Kerala coast. And what is the mandate of this institute? That is, they develop the management strategies for the marine living resources and also evolution and coordination and implementation of the time targeted, whether it is the national, regional R&D programs using this fishery and the oceanographic research vessel Sagar Sampada. So this Sagar Sampada is a research vessel, and it will also strengthen the research on the marine living resources and the ecology, thereby establishing a data center for storage and the dissemination of the data and information also. Not only this, it will also coordinate the national programs related to the Southern Ocean living resources also. From India, the CMLRE act as a coordination agency to coordinate the programs related to the Southern Ocean living resources. Now moving to a third topic, that is the CPCB report on the polluted river sites. So from the name itself we can tell that the Central Pollution Control Board has released a report on the polluted river sites. So let's see about the findings now. So before going into the key findings, let's see that what are the parameters. Based on what parameters it told that yes, whether these rivers are polluted or healthy. See, the report name is the Polluted River Stretches for Restoration of Water Quality for the year 22 to 23. And under this report, the CPCB measured the quality of the water by measuring this component, that is the BOD, biological oxygen demand. So what is this biological oxygen demand? See, this BOD is the amount of dissolved oxygen. BOD means dissolved oxygen, which is required for the microorganisms to break down their organic matter. So the amount of oxygen, whichever is present, the amount of oxygen present in the water, and that is required for the microorganisms to break down their organic matter. For a healthy river, we can say that the BOD is less than 3 milligram per liter. And if this BOD exceeds this 3 milligram per liter, we can say that that river is unfit for bathing also. We can say that there is so much of pollution and that is unfit for the bathing. And the polluted river stretches. So what is this polluted river stretch means? See, stretch, polluted river stretch. The river is polluted and it is being stretched to some extent. That means that when two or more consecutive locations in a river exceed this bathing criteria, that is the two locations exceed this biological oxygen demand of 3 milligram per liter. That is known as the polluted river stretch. So here is this one location, here it is one location, and from here to here, this river, the water in this river exceeded this biological oxygen demand of 3 milligram per liter. We can say that it is a polluted river stretch as per this report, PRS. Coming to the priority level, see the priority one is classified as the BOD is having greater than 30 milligram per liter. That means it is said as the most polluted and we need the urgent action has to be taken. And the priority 2 lies within the 20 to 30 milligram per liter, and priority 3 10 to 20 milligram per liter, priority 4 6 to 10 milligram per liter, priority 5 3 to 6 milligram per liter. So under this priority 5 we can say that that is the least polluted category but still polluted. That means that the BOD is less than 3. When the BOD is less than 3 milligram per liter, then only we can say that that river is healthy and not polluted. And these are the criteria which used in giving this report. So based on this priority list, the CPCB has classified some rivers into based on these priority list. Now coming to the key findings, say unfit bathing locations that is reduced in 2022 it was 815 and the number reduced to 807 with the loss of -8. Next, the polluted river stretches, that is in 2022 that is the 311 stretches in 279 rivers, but in 2023 it is 296 stretches in the 271 rivers. It also reduced. The state-wise PRS, that is the polluted river stretches, the Maharashtra has had these 54 polluted river stretches. Then comes the Kerala with 31 polluted river stretches. Then Madhya Pradesh with 18 and Manipur with 18 and Karnataka with 14. The most polluted states by the priority 1, that is this BOD level is greater than 30 milligram per liter, that is Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand. And the most polluted states by priority 1 in the 2022, that is Gujarat and the Uttar Pradesh. So we dealt with the report, the findings of this report, right? Now, what is this CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board? It is a statutory body which is established under the Water Prevention and the Control of Pollution Act 1974. It has also the powers under this Air Prevention and the Control of Pollution Act, right? So it is a statutory organization. Now go and see what are other functions of this CPCB, what it can do. What is the role of this CPCB? And coming to a fourth topic, that is the bonnet macaque. So here you can see the picture of this bonnet macaque. So why we are discussing about this species right now? The Kerala witnessed the death of 9 bonnet macaques in Kerala. So the forest department or the officials are saying that by investigating, they found the foam and some kind of froth in the mouth of this bonnet macaque. So they are thinking that this death is due to some kind of poisoning. Some kind of poisoning they are now investigating. But now let's see about this bonnet macaque. It is also known as the Zati. These are endemic to the South India, specially distributed in the Indian Ocean, limited by the 3 sides, Godavari and the Tapti rivers. The suitable habitats for this bonnet macaque are the evergreen high forest, dry deciduous forest of the Western Ghat mountains. These are omnivorous species whose diet includes the fruits, nuts, seeds, flowers, invertebrates, and the cereals. These are the diurnal. That means they are active during the day and will go into sleep at the night. And they are arboreal. They live on the trees. Terrestrial land animals and the polygynandrous. They mate with different partners. And the IUCN status is the least concern. Coming to a final topic, that is Tunisia. So here you can see the Tunisia here on the northern Africa at the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. It's a country of the North Africa. Its capital and the largest city is Tunis. It is situated at the eastern end of the Atlas Mountains and the northern end of the Sahara Desert. Its highest mountain is Mount Chambe. And its drainage, it has only the one perennial river, that is the Majharda River. It has the largest salt lake, that is the Chot El Djerid. And it also state of Sicily separates this Tunisia from the Italy, that is from Sicily. From this Tunisia only, the birth of Arab Spring, the revolution of 2010 took place in this Tunisia only. And here you can see the border countries, that is Algeria on its west and Libya on its east. And there is the Mediterranean Sea, and we also have the Sardinia and Sicily as the maritime boundaries. Malta also the maritime boundaries. And this is the only river, the perennial river, that is the Majarda of this Tunisia. And here, the largest lake of Tunisia, that is the Chot El Djerid. So that's all for today. Thank you.